to the live stream, and we're probably being recorded, even though it says it's loading now. Do you have the Substack open so you can see it?
I don't because when I do, it tries to make me join in, but let me see if I
Okay,
can
I've
try.
got it. We're live on Substack. I can
Okay.
confirm. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, Colin. Long time no see.
Well, not no. Long time since
Four office hours.
yes.
Four office
So let's
hours.
start there.
Yeah,
We saw each other in real life 2 days ago, or the
I
three
know.
actually.
Not through a screen. It was very different this
Yes.
time, but it was so much fun getting to. I didn't get to make it to the conference, so getting to hang out with you while you're on your way back home and give you a rush tour of one of my favorite museums was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was very cool. You met so many people over the last week and a half. It's been busy for you.
Yeah. I wanted to tell you, so Melissa and I saw each other in Detroit, Michigan, and we went to the Henry Ford Museum, or is it just called what's it called?
Henry Ford Museum in Greenfield Village is like the full title of everything there, but
Okay.
we just went through Henry Ford Museum.
Well, one thing I was surprised by was we saw the Ford Theater chair where Abraham Lincoln was assassinated,
Yeah.
and one of the authors I'm working with right now has a scene in Philadelphia with Abraham Lincoln's funeral procession, so I just thought that was kind of
Yeah.
ironic.
And we saw the Model T like separated where Bryn's working on Henry Ford. Her book is about Henry Ford. Well, it's already out, but yeah, so many little historical tidbits that I was able to drag you through. And Da Vinci and like all the exhibits were a lot of fun to go through. So yeah, you've been everywhere though since we last met up for office hours. It's been an extremely busy month for you.
Yeah, well, the conference was a huge success.
Yeah.
It was really glad that it worked out, but it was a ton of work, and actually, I'm
Yeah.
glad to be home.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had people messaging me that they didn't make it to this year's conference and like when is the next one going to be and how can they go because they saw people posting having so much fun and being able to interact with everyone that they were kind of disappointed that they missed out. So can you tell us a little bit about like what the conference encompassed? Like what did people kind of experience when they went? So if people are looking for little bits of that through workshops along the way with history through fiction, or if they're getting excited about the next conference whenever that gets announced, like what did it entail?
Well, I can almost assure you that we'll be doing another conference because this one did go so well. Not only well, people actually were approaching me and talking to me about the next one,
Great.
and people in the industry that are like, well, you did most of this on your own. We want to help form a committee and help plan the next one. So we're looking at doing another one in 2028. And that was kind of the original idea, was to do it every other year, just like the Historical Novel Society North American Conference is every other year. So the HNS is going to be in Pittsburgh in 2027 in June. And so we'll probably be looking at scheduling something in 2028. Beyond that, I can't really tell you what it's going to look like. It's kind of out of my hands, it sounds like at this point, because so many people want to be involved in planning the next one. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll look for that eventually. We'll put together some plans for that, but I'm really excited. For this one, so first of all, I the only thing I really had to go off of was conferences I've attended before. What did those formats look like? What did I enjoy about them? What did I think could work better? And so Rob and Henry and I, we just kind of used that experience to start planning this one. We ended up choosing a location that was a smaller venue and we limited attendance, which I think was one of the best aspects of the conference. We had a head count of 72, and that included the guests, the agents, the history through fiction authors. So I would say about 55 or 60 people that were unconnected to, is that a word? Or
No,
disconnect?
we'll go with it.
Not connected to history through
Disconnected,
fiction.
unconnected, it all works.
And that was perfect because then you really got to know who everyone was, or a good majority of people. And also we were able to limit the sessions, and that's one thing that's overwhelming about going to like AWP conferences or the HNS conferences, which are great, but there's just like you can't even look through all the sessions and decide, oh, which one do
Right.
I go to, and you end up missing so many, and then it's almost impossible to catch up. So the most sessions we had at any one time were two. You had to choose between two sessions, and that worked out well. The rooms were still had, there weren't empty rooms. The rooms were filled with people, and we scheduled the sessions 15 minutes apart, which was seemed like just a perfect timing for people to chat in between sessions, get a snack, go use the bathroom, and just kind of wind down before heading into the next session. So that was a good part of it. We did a few things Friday, so the conference was Saturday and Sunday. And stop me if I'm talking too much. Do you have any
No,
questions?
absolutely. We want to hear about what happened. Like I'm living the conference through you telling us about it because we didn't talk about it that much in detail.
Yeah.
So it's perfect.
So the actual conference was Saturday and Sunday, but we planned some pre-conference events on Friday, and that was related to the history of the area, which was Beverly, Massachusetts, and Salem, Massachusetts. So on Friday afternoon, we had a tour of the John Cabot House and just the local history of Beverly. And then Friday evening, we had dinner at a local restaurant, the Mission Boathouse, and then we headed over to Salem for a witch tour, and that was really fun, although it was very cold. It was pretty difficult logistically because I rented a minivan and we were trying to shuttle people back and forth. One disadvantage of the conference was it was about a mile and a half from the town, and so if you didn't have transportation, you had to Uber. Walking was difficult, especially because it was so cold. But everyone enjoyed those pre-conference events, and they went really well. And then we dove right in on Saturday with breakfast and our speaker, Sarah Penner. Friday evening, the speaker was Fanula Austin. Sunday evening, the speaker was Madeline Martin. For everything, we were decked out with food like you wouldn't believe it. We had a candy bar set up in between, and all kinds of snacks and goodies, and the food was excellent. And the staff there was always on task, always on top of things. And then also the tech staff, streamography is what they're called. They did an amazing job making sure that all the sessions were available on Zoom, that people could hear them. And then the volunteers that I had, like I asked for volunteers, and they did an awesome job of like they took it way more seriously than I thought they would. But that was really good for the Zoom sessions because I always had someone who was sitting on a computer or their phone and communicating with the people on Zoom and asking questions. And we tried as much as possible to make sure that everyone speaking had a microphone so that the people on Zoom could hear. And then the final thing was just that the content was actually like everything was good, strong content from each of the presenters, each of the sessions that were relatable, that were important. I think the most popular session was probably the literary agent Jessica Berg, who talked about how to write a compelling hook for your book. I know that was really, really popular and is continuing to get views on replay, which
Yeah.
I'll add. I took all the sessions from Zoom, uploaded them onto an unlisted playlist on YouTube. And then I'm able to put them into a conference replay center. So we have 27 recorded sessions. They're all available in the conference replay center, which is accessible on our website. There's to gain access is $79, but all of that content from the conference is available to
Yeah.
anyone who might have missed it.
I actually had a client message and she was like, I literally signed up for the virtual the day before because I didn't want to miss out on everything. And she was worried about how long did she have access to be able to watch the videos. So for anybody that does even now sign up for that, are they going to be available forever as listed, or did you have a plan for how long?
For right now, indefinitely,
Okay.
because what I did on my Squarespace is I created a member area, and I already had a member area for our historical readers club, and so there doesn't seem to be any additional cost to me. So there's no reason I can't keep them up there
Perfect.
indefinitely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. If you know anybody finding this for the first time and didn't even realize there was a conference happening can go ahead and still pick that up. I do have a question. So you mentioned literary agent was there talking. So one of the things I think we kind of touch on often on office hours is we have people through different publishing paths that are coming in trying to decide what's the right way for me to go. Should I self-publish? Should I be pursuing a publisher? Should I be looking for a small press? Like, what do I do? So, how did that kind of translate into the conference? Did you have people from a lot of different pathways, and how can they best know what to do from attending, how they should publish their books?
Well, that was another huge benefit of the conference was just the networking, actually talking with people and asking them where they're at, what their path has been, what their goals are moving forward. So whether you are a newbie who's never, you're still working on your first manuscript, or you're a New York Times best-selling author who's written 30 books, or you're somewhere in the middle who's independently published, who's worked with a small press, who's worked with a traditional press, but only has one or two titles, like everything was represented there. So that was outstanding. Um, the literary agents are a big draw for these types of writing conferences because it is so challenging to get the attention of a literary agent just through querying, and it's kind of discouraging because you hear back, you rarely hear back, and if you do, it's often a form letter. So this gave writers an opportunity to actually connect with a literary agent, sit and have a one-on-one conversation with them. And as far as the publishing routes are concerned, that's still kind of the one with the highest prestige, and the goal for a lot of authors is to land an agent, and then because an agent can then shop your manuscript to the large presses and
Right.
get you a book publishing deal with one of those large presses. Um, so when Jessica Berg was there and she gave her the high concept hook is what her presentation was called. Everyone was there with their notebooks out, taking notes. How do I refine my query? How do I get the attention of an agent? Um, Thankfully, our agents, Jessica Berg, Kate McKean, Robin Henry was accepting pitches. Annie Bomke and Rachel McMillan were all fantastic, just very gracious and giving of their time and knowledge. Um, but that's not the only path. And I even met with an author this morning who was at the conference who is transitioning from romance writing to historical fiction and realizing that that's a huge jump. It's not an easy transition, and that's one thing they were kind of confronted with at the conference.
Yeah.
Um, so this was a way to help authors hear from everybody and kind of get an understanding, okay, these are the costs and benefits, these are the pluses and minuses of each different path to publication. One presentation I would highly recommend was Madeline Martin's workshop. I don't remember the title of it, but it had to do with making writing your career, because that's essentially what she has done. But it's not all glamorous, and there's still so much work involved and so much marketing involved. She talked about that she doesn't just make money off book royalties or off book deals. And in fact, even if you get a six-figure deal, it's spread out into four, over 2 years, you get four payments of $25,000, and then they take taxes out, and it's really it's hardly counts as a full-time job.
Absolutely.
So I think that's important for authors to see and learn, come to understand, and then they can make better decisions about, okay, is finding an agent and landing a traditional contract the right route for me, or do I want to just independently publish and maintain all of my creativity and my own path and my own audience, or as a small press like History Through Fiction, who has this kind of unique community, small but niche community, the
Right.
best path for me.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to kind of listen to people that are also writing in the genre that you're planning on going into, or listening to agents that specialize in, certain, like each agent will tell you what genres that they are repping, and listen to someone with that expertise, because it is, like you said, so different what readers and publishers want from a romance versus historical fiction or sci-fi or romantasy or whatever it is so different. You feel like publishing is just publishing, and then you start to find out like it's completely different even for each genre of what you need to do. Um, so I think it's great that you have it so narrowed down to just people that are kind of anybody is welcome and there's a value for anybody, but it's specifically if you are planning on writing historical fiction, like these are the experts to kind of come to and learn from.
Yeah, and it, it's interesting to see that kind of the authority that was put upon me for this, because now I'm giving guidance to authors, and I don't actually know the answers, but what I can do is, and what we're doing right now is just offering a place for people to discuss and hopefully remove that veil, give people real expectations instead of just these pie in the sky ideas. And that was,
Absolutely.
another thing that was so valuable about getting us together, even though it was so much work to put together this conference, but it was just so
Yeah.
valuable to actually sit down and be face to face with people.
Yeah, yeah, there's so much that's so subjective within publishing. Like it is not an exact science and it's not do this and this works. I mean, there's best practices like for everything, but listening to what has worked for someone else and they might have similar circumstances to what you have. Maybe they're working full time and they're writing and they're going down, self-publishing path. Well, then you can learn from kind of what they've been doing. Maybe somebody else is querying and they're full time like sending out querying letters. Okay, listening to what they have, you can gain some insight and some experience from that. So being in a whole room full of people with varied experiences, there's just so much to be able to soak in from all of that.
Yeah, and it was just so rewarding to see how energized and inspired people were. Um,
Yeah.
we authors are often now back in their homes and doing their routines with families and trying to find an hour here and an hour there to do their writerly work. But this was an opportunity for everybody to actually connect and know that they're not alone, and know that they're not the only one going through this, and that's also beneficial. And I think it's a huge boost, no matter what path that author wants to go down. It's just a huge boost to know that they're not alone.
Absolutely. It is very solitary. I mean, even for you and I with what we're doing, like we talk to a lot of people, but we're sitting in our little spaces working on the computer so much and to be able to have the energy of connecting with people in real life, there's just something about that I feel like kind of carries you through the next like phase of what you're working on or makes you excited for the next conference because you have these memories from the first one or when you meet people and you're excited to connect with them again in a future conference.
Yeah. We have a question from Nelson. He
Absolutely.
asks, what do you suggest to keep time to someone with a full-time job? And he says keep time equals reserve time to write. So full-time job, probably numerous other things going on in his life and any writer's life.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about how you make time to actually sit down and write and do that work.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to jump in?
Go
Do you have
for it.
thoughts? Okay, so I'll kind of give you insight as to how I tell my clients to make space and how I do it myself. So, um, if you've read my Substack lately, you know I'm kind of obsessed with. I love the book, The One Thing. I love the 12-week year. I think when you're working a full-time job and you have these other goals and you're trying to write and make time and you have all these other things that are pulling on your life, it's really important to step back first and assess like what is most important, what do I need to make time for? And then that's the first thing you put on your calendar. So like your work day is already set, your 9 to 5. You plug that into your calendar, that's a non-negotiable. So where does it make the most sense for you to schedule and hold yourself accountable for your writing time? So maybe you're a morning person. I'm a morning person. So getting up at 6 o'clock and giving myself an hour before the rest of the house is busy and everybody's getting going is easy for me to maintain every single day of like that's my time. For other people, I know I was just talking to somebody last week and she said her husband goes to bed and she's a night person, so she gets like 2 hour block of writing after he goes to bed each night. So I think you have to set appointments with yourself, like in your calendar, even to know when you're going to work on certain things, and just let your family know also that this is really important to me. This is something that I want to make sure I'm doing. So these are the hours or the times that work that I'd like to reserve for doing this. And most of the time, your family will be supportive of your creative pursuits, but it gives everybody else the expectation of what you're going to be working on, and you hold yourself accountable to that. So it's not just, oh, I really want to get through the next two chapters of my writing this week. Well, where is that going to happen? And when you clearly lay that out, then you're so much more likely to make it happen because the time has already been designated for that thing. What works for you, Colin?
I would say don't look at it as a whole, because if you're writing a full-length manuscript, the it takes so much to get it done and will likely take 8 months, 12 months, 2 years, could take 5 years. So it's really daunting to think about that. My goal when I'm working through a manuscript is just to get something done every day, whether it's 15 minutes or 2 hours, just to keep moving toward that goal and to not look at it as a whole. And I always relate it to my marathon training because I run marathons, and you have to run many numerous times a week, and you have to keep increasing that pace, and you're doing it so that the 5 months from now you can run a full length marathon and run it well. So just like with working on your novel, you just have to, it's just too much to look at it and as the whole length of everything that needs to be done. So my for me, what works is just piece by piece, day by day, making sure that I'm getting something done towards that novel. And then it does take some good time management, like bringing books with you, bringing your Kindle with you. You never know when you might be in line at the post office for a half hour or something like that, where you're like, oh, I can use this time to read this book and help me do research for it. Um, so yeah, just always having resources available to you just in case you never know what might happen.
Yeah.
And I I'm like you, I prefer to get up early. When I was working my job at the school, I had to be there by 7, and so I would get up 4:45 or 5 and just sit down and work for an hour, and that was good focus time. I find that an hour of focus time can be as efficient as 3 hours of less focus time.
Yeah.
So it's nice to get up early when you're not getting flooded with emails or notifications, and you can just sit and do the work. And then you're like, shoot, I have to go to work.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but you've
I think
really
that's an
accomplished so much in that little amount of
yeah.
time.
That's a super important piece that I know I've read before. It's great to know like when are you your best creative self. So lean into that. If you're not a morning person, don't try to suddenly start waking up at 5 a.m. to write because you're gonna be miserable and it's not gonna be sustainable. You just won't enjoy it and you'll fall off the wagon, sooner or later with trying to do that. So recognize what times, if possible, you can lean into in order to get your stuff done. And I did want to add one piece to that also, working with a book coach. That can be a great addition to keep you motivated as well. So not only like scheduling in your times, but working with somebody that's going to hold you accountable to kind of different markers, helping you along the way, seeing improvements. I think is a great addition, like an extra layer to that to help hold you to your goals of trying to write.
Well, speaking of which, I'm starting a workshop tomorrow. It's a mentorship. It's a 6-month mentorship. I have 4 writers signed up right now. I have a limit of 6, so there's just 2 spots left. But if you're out there and you're interested in that kind of accountability, not just from me as a book coach, but with a group of writers, we're meeting once a month in between session, I'll give a lesson, we'll talk about each other's work, and then in between, I'll be looking at your work. I'm asking for writers to submit 20 pages each month. I read it, I give you feedback, try to guide you in that right direction. And then there's that accountability there that's like, oh, I have to get this 20-page submission into Colin. Otherwise, I'm going to miss the deadline and I won't get what that feedback
Yeah.
that I'm looking for. So if anyone listening is interested, just send me an email, editor@historythroughfiction.com, and I'll send you the link to register for that. The registration's on Eventbrite. But we're looking for 2 more writers. If you are wandering a little bit in the midst of your manuscript, I'd love to help. And we've got some writers that would also love that community aspect.
Love that little extra push because nobody wants to be the person that like doesn't turn in their homework.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to talk about collaborating, and that's one thing at the conference authors were able to meet each other, maybe find out they have similar genres, similar time periods, and that maybe they can actually work together to market their books.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had this question come up with a few clients lately, and they're like, how can I reach a new audience faster? How can I find other people? And one of the great ways to do this is collaboration. And you really want to focus first on if you're collaborating with somebody that they have an audience that would also work for you. Not to say that you can't like celebrate your author friends when they have a book that's not the same genre that you're writing, but if you're doing it to capitalize on readers that might potentially be interested in buying your book, kind of keeping it similar-ish to what you have is a great starting point. There's so many fantastic ways to collaborate, but I wanted to kind of touch on a couple of more strategic ones that I've been using lately. So if you're on Instagram, they have their collaboration button on there. So it used to be tagging people, but now you can collaborate, shares the same post on everyone involved that's collaborating's feed. And I had an author do this, and she gained almost 300 new followers in a couple of days, which we all know Instagram is like a slow place to be growing. So that was a massive amount of new followers that she found. And it was because she had done an event, and we kind of did a like mini reel about the event that had taken place, collaborated with them and people that were following. It was a very specific kind of event place, and they were interested in her book, what she was sharing with her content, came on over because of that. So never miss an opportunity to be collaborating with other authors on there. If you have events that you're doing with them, so maybe you're going to be on a panel, tag the bookstore, tag the library, tag the podcast, and also collaborate with them as well. And don't miss the opportunity to find new people through that. The other place I think is Substack is great to collaborate. I've done this with other people, and I've always had really fun time, first of all, and it's just been great for helping me get in front of new potential subscribers. And that's kind of doing like a swap of posts. So I did not come up with this idea. I had somebody actually approached me when I had been on Substack for a while, and she was like, "Hey, I really love your stuff. Would you be interested in writing a piece for my audience? And I'll write something for yours." And we kind of played off of each other's content ideas and then leaned into our own strengths, but shared it on our own platforms and then tagged the other person and shared. And it was just a great way. I've always gained new subscribers from doing that. Um, and if you're already consistently writing on your Substack, it's not too much extra effort or outside of your comfort zone to put in just a collaborative swap with somebody else. And also going live is great. I was just talking with a client yesterday about adding in a live stream. She's newer to Substack, but knows a few other authors that are on here that she's friends with. Could be a great way to get visibility. She's a well-established author, but just breaking into the Substack platform. So going live, sharing posts with other authors that have been on here for a few years already can help boost that growth a little bit quicker with people finding you.
And I find on Substack that that recommended feature
Oh yeah.
really works. And so I'll get one or two new free subscribers every day. And not, they used to just come from you, but
You're welcome.
because I've been connecting with people on Substack, now they're coming from all over the place. So the
Yes.
more you're able to share and recommend each other's work, then the more that just starts to snowball, I think.
Absolutely. I think it's great to be intentional with who you're recommending. You can change it from time to time. Um, I've had people reach out and let me know, hey, I really like what you write. I added you to my recommended. And that just is take somebody from maybe being someone who reads to somebody that you can potentially network with and build a working relationship with on the platform. So helping each other out, I mean, same as the conference, like sharing in the wealth of knowledge that we all have, the things that we're learning and helping other people is, I feel like, at its core, what we're all about on here because we all want to see each other succeed. It's not about hoarding anything for ourselves.
Yeah. And what you said about Instagram, I'm finding has been working really well for me too, especially since the conference because so many people have been posting about it. So you can tag people or you can invite them to collaborate. And as far as I know, the difference is you tag them, they see that the post goes up, maybe they share it or add it to their story. But if you collaborate with them, it's asked them to review the post. If they accept the collaboration, then it goes straight onto their feed. And
Absolutely.
I did this with the literary agent Jessica Berg, who I tagged her on a post, and she actually emailed me and said, "Hey, can you actually add me as a collaborator? Because that increases our reach here, because then it'll go onto
Right.
my feed."
And the
And
great thing is that you're not asking any more work of someone else. You're literally just handing them a
yeah,
pre-post for them to add to their content, but extending your reach so much by doing it.
yeah. Well, let's wrap things up here. It's been wonderful talking with you again here post conference. We'll meet again for office hours on the 24th. So we'll look forward to
Absolutely.
that. And we do our monthly workshops. I'm doing from history to storytelling. That's going to be next Friday at noon. So that's April 17th. If you're a paid subscriber to my Substack, you actually already have access to the Zoom link. If you go to colinmustful.substack.com, it's listed under our workshop access. Otherwise, registration is available on Eventbrite.
Absolutely. And always send us any questions you have that you want us to talk about here on office hours. You can DM myself, Colin, send us an email, anywhere you like, let us know. We'd be happy to add it into the list of topics we're covering.
Yeah, we're figuring all this out along with you guys. So we're glad we're able to be able to discuss these things. And we love it when you join in and ask us questions and get involved in the conversation.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, bye, Melissa. Have a wonderful Friday.
Thanks. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Sorry, no cat appearance this time. Maybe
That's
next.
okay.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.